Welcome to Thursdays with Franco, where we talk capabilities, projects, and emerging trends and cool technology that's on Oracle OCI. This is a 5-week series. We're into week 2 of the series, and we're going to be talking about Ā'pêks app development. The first 15 minutes, it's predominantly show and tell, which is recorded and then put on a YouTube channel. Helping me today is Stuart Coggins. Hey, Stuart.
Hey Franco, how are you? Good to be
Yeah, good
back.
to see you. And Chris Spierings, who's actually going
Hey,
to be
Franco.
helping us today with what is Ā'pêks and how it works.
Yeah, I just noticed, Franco, we got the same background. It's almost like we're wearing the same t-shirt or something.
It
It's a bit
is.
embarrassing, bit of a fashion faux pas.
I just like to be different, that's all.
That's not like
You
you.
guys merge, by the way. It looks one big on my screen. It's just one big background.
There you
I,
It's
go.
like
I
you're
need
sat
to I
next to
need to
each other.
change mine. Yeah.
Okay, so Chris, you're going to help us understand what is Ā'pêks and take us through it.
Yeah. So this is going to be just a little bit of a an introduction to Apex because Apex is, I suppose, so comprehensive and such a big subject that we need to explore this, I think, over a few sessions. And we were just talking about this before that we should do that. But today is just really a getting started and what you need to do to create your very first Apex app. And one of the things that first drew me to Apex is that it enables people to develop apps very, very rapidly. But most importantly, it allows you to leverage all the capabilities of the Oracle database. So as Oracle adds new capabilities in, you can leverage them. And some of the big ones, have been around, say, RESTful services. When those became available, Apex could leverage those, and it can do some incredible things. You can be developing apps that are using data from a remote Oracle database, and it's like it's the database that you're working in. So those are some of the incredible things that drew me to Apex, and just the way it enables you to develop apps. And so we're just going to have a little bit of a look today, and maybe I'll just share my screen. Um, I am logged into the cloud console, and I just spun up a database just before called TWF. I wonder what those initials stand for. A little bit of a faux pas because I made it as a data warehouse autonomous database. That won't matter for us, but we can get in and we can start developing. And one of the great things about when you're creating an autonomous database, there's a couple of parts that you need to leverage when you're wanting to develop Apex apps. And one is you need to install Apex into the database. And the second part is that you need to stand up what we call an ORDS server, which is the Oracle RESTful Database Services, because Apex leverages that. But when you do this in the OCI console and you create an autonomous database, all that stuff gets done for you, which is really, really good. And the other great thing about when you're running this on autonomous database is that obviously the database gets patched regularly, and new versions and new patch levels of Apex get made available to you regularly. So, talking with customers, and especially customers that maybe have a managed service provider that might be, running their databases for them, that becomes a bit of an annoyance that whenever there's a new version of Apex, they have to, negotiate with their managed services provider to install that for them. And there's obviously cost, but when you run autonomous, you don't have to worry about any of that stuff because Oracle handles that for you, which is to me a pretty important thing.
So,
So let me,
Chris, so
yeah,
just to go, can you make your font or your screen size bigger for me? Just to
is
make
that
it,
better?
yep, that is better. And
Yeah,
you made the point, I wasn't aware. So you can act when you provision autonomous, you can actually pick the flavor, transaction processing or data
yeah,
warehousing.
yeah. So I accidentally clicked a data warehouse, and I thought I'm not going to go back and change it now. It doesn't matter. They're optimized for different types of workloads, obviously transaction processing or data warehousing. Um, for what we're doing, it really won't matter at all. But if I was to go through and create a new one, that's one of the check boxes I check is to say, do you want this to be transaction processing or data warehouse? You can take your pick. You can also select the database version, whether that's going to be 19C or 23AI. And so I just clicked on 23AI. And then, some other things around the character set. You can see here, you know, um, the system does the backups for you. You can configure disaster recovery if you want to. And there's some maintenance information down here. So this is going to tell you when the next maintenance is going to occur. And you can sort of prepare your testing around that. And we're running, if I was to click into my Ā'pêks, so it's configured Ā'pêks for me under this instance name, and I can click into that. And it's got some information about Ā'pêks. So we're running version 24.2.8, and the Ā'pêks team make regular updates to the versions and patch levels in Ā'pêks. And a matter of fact, they're doing some internal UAT testing. I don't know if you saw that email, Franco, for the new version.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we can't talk about it, but I had a little quick play. Looks very interesting. So can't wait for that to come out. That's probably, all we're going to really talk about in the console. Just to mention briefly, I spoke about this being built on, autonomous. You can run Ā'pêks on traditional like built databases. So if you're running commodity hardware or an Exadata or something like that, you can install Ā'pêks on that. You'll need to configure your own ORD server, but many, many customers do that. But for the reasons that we were talking about just before, I love using autonomous database because you can just create one so quickly and everything's handled for you. So
And we can create one now on our laptop. There's a container version of autonomous database. So it all comes as a Docker or Podman container now. So again, for developers, that sort of thing, getting up and running is relatively straightforward. And actually, it's great for just getting up and running and even for learning. A lot of people ask about learning. Really quickly, Chris, I don't know if you noticed, I'm sure you did, but a couple of weeks ago, at the end of August, we renamed ā'pêks.oracle.com to oracleapeks.com to the URL change. So just for those that are looking for that, it still moves around, obviously, but just note that that's another area where we can get up and running. So everything that Chris is doing today, you'll be able to do within a few minutes in a number of different places.
Yeah, and that's important to note. Was it Oracle Ā'pêks? Or was it Oracle?
It's oracleapeks.com.
Yeah, so go there. If you're looking at just wanting to have a quick play, you can go there and create a workspace in seconds, and you're away.
By the way, Oracle people, you can't do it with an Oracle email address. Just for those that have tried and failed miserably, like I have many times.
Yeah. Let me launch Ā'pêks. And so one of the things to remember with Ā'pêks or the architecture of Ā'pêks is that Ā'pêks runs within the Oracle database. So it's not if you're used to maybe developing in, say, Python or PHP or Java, where you might have some code running external from the database or maybe in a middle tier, that doesn't happen with Ā'pêks. So Ā'pêks is built and it runs with PL SQL, developed by some very smart cookies inside Oracle. And there's a few advantages to this architecture. One is that it's very, very efficient. It is very, very fast. And it has, because it's running within the database, it's self-contained and you can back that whole thing up. So the DBAs or the autonomous database service that does your database backups, it's all handled for you. It handles disaster recovery and scalability. So if you have RAC or Exadata or anything, this will run inside the database and it will scale.
Chris, you've got 4 minutes to build an app.
Oh my God, 4 minutes.
Come on,
All right.
challenge. We said we'd keep it to 15 this week. So
Yeah, I shouldn't talk so much. This is the internal workspace that you see with Ā'pêks, and the internal workspace is the I suppose the higher level container, and we can create workspaces from this internal workspace. So we can create as many workspaces as we want, and there is no impact on the database or scalability. Each workspace takes a very small amount of data, and the definitions of our applications are stored within the database. So we can create hundreds or thousands of applications running in Ā'pêks. And so you're not limited to one app per database or a couple of apps per database. You can run literally thousands. And one of the options it gives you is I'm going to create a workspace now. And it's asking me if I want to create a new database schema, a new database user, or if I want to use an existing schema. And I'm going to reuse an existing schema. And because just after I created my database app, I loaded the HR sample data set in there, and I'm going to create my app based on that. I better give it a user. This is a developer. Create workspace. So in this internal workspace, there's a few things I can do under manage instance. I can manage my workspaces that I've created. I could also manage the instance, and under here is where we can enable certain features of Ā'pêks. So if we want to restrict some of the capabilities that we want to give our workspace to developers, we can do that in here. So, enabling RESTful services. Do we want to enable AI capabilities, et cetera, we can do that sort of stuff in here. And we can monitor all the applications, from the internal one. But I'm just going to quickly dive into the workspace I've just created. And I think from memory it was HR. So this is what you see when you create your Ā'pêks workspace as a person who's going to create their own application. The two main things that we're interested in are the app builder, where we can create our application, and our SQL workshop, where we can go and do SQL commands. So we can just click in there. We can do things. There's a utility section in here where we can maybe load data into the using the data workshop. So if we've got, say, a CSV file or a JSON file, we can use this little wizard and we can drag and drop a Microsoft Excel file in there, and it'll create a table in the database for us. And what's more, it'll even create a little app if you want to do that as well. So it can generate data if you're developing apps that you need a lot of data for. You can generate the DDL for your objects. So there's a whole bunch of different things that you can do in the SQL workshop. And you can also see the objects. So things that you're familiar with, if you've used, tools like SQL Developer, you'd probably, be familiar with this. I've got some tables in here. So this is just a HR sample schema with employees, et cetera, locations, regions. So we can do data manipulation in here. So we could edit data, etc. We might want to just run SQL commands. We can do that as well from here. But let's see, I've only got 0 minutes left. Let's create a application. Oh, before I do that, just as you're starting to learn Ā'pêks, remember that there's some training that we provide for free on learning how to develop Ā'pêks apps. And there's also the live labs that you can go into, and they've got some little labs that you can follow. But if you're wanting to create a sample app, there's a whole bunch in here. You can click on install and it will build those apps for you. And so you can have a look at those apps. You can understand how they work, and then you can, use that knowledge to build your own apps. But if I go back here, I want to create an app, and I'm going to call it, what will I call it? Employees. And I'm just going to create a very simple app, and I'm going to just view the list of employees within the organization of the HR schema, and I'm going to edit them, right? So it's created a basic app for me. I might create a page in here. which is going to be just maybe a classic report. And I'll call it employees. And I'm going to just run a normal page. I'm going to include a form so I can edit it. I'll call it edit employee. And it's going to be running in the local database. And I'm going to pick my employees table. And that's all I need to do. Click next.
And Chris, you're going point click, following your nose there.
Yeah.
If you had the Gen AI service wired in, how would it be different?
You could say if you had, like, you'll notice that I haven't written any SQL here, so it's been pretty good. But if you're using, if you had generative AI configured for Ā'pêks, you could say, I want to create an application that allows me to edit employee data, and it will create those pages for you automatically, just through natural language. So that's a really interesting capability that they're adding into it. And you can also, in that SQL workshop, you can also ask it for assistance. You want to write a SQL query, show me a SQL query to do whatever, and it will come back with the SQL that you need to run. So there's a lot of AI enhancements being put into it, enabling developers to leverage AI.
I'll let you get back to your demo here.
Yeah, and it's done. I've created my app. And my app is a simple app that's going to allow me to edit employees. It's created a couple of pages for me. Let me just run my app. I should say, if people are interested in learning a bit more, don't hesitate to reach out to Stu.
To me, did you say? Yeah. No, that's fair enough. Actually, it's quite therapeutic because we get some interesting questions from customers doing some very funky things, and it actually stretches you a little bit. I quite enjoy it. It's awesome.
Yeah. So here it is. I mean, this is just a very simple application, but it's done some interesting things under the covers, because if you were to go back and have a look at our database objects, and those that have done a little bit of database in the past will realize that this database or the schema is normalized. So, what we have done is that we have got columns over here that don't have, say, the manager's name in it. It has a manager ID and it has a department ID. And that information is held in different tables. And you'll see a department name there and a department ID. What the Ā'pêks app has done is when you built it, it's known that it's followed that foreign key and it's created that reference. And so instead of seeing a number in here that you see in this table over here, it's actually linked to the department. So I think that's pretty cool. So it's just, without actually having to write any SQL and do any joins or anything like that, it has actually created this nice little app that allows you to view the employees, and you can edit them as well. So this is a little editing tool. You might want to move him to a different department. Done.
And it's got all of that. It's got all of that foreign key capability built into the list of values and validation by default.
Yep. So it's just built all that for you.
Right.
So I think that's great. I mean, anyone who's maybe done this sort of thing in the past, it may sound simple when we just mention it, but when you're actually developing an app, that can be quite complicated to build those select lists and just the things with updating a record in a database. There's quite a bit of code in traditional database development goes into that sort of stuff. You need to check, for instance, if somebody else has modified that record. What do you do? Ā'pêks handles all that for you. So very simple use case, but you can do charts, you can do faceted searching, you can do vector searching even in this database. So we'll cover that in maybe future episodes, but this was just really how do I get started? How do I create a workspace? How can I create my very first app? There you
Chris,
go.
question that I get asked a
Yeah.
lot, and is worth addressing, is the kind of skills I need to be able to build an Ā'pêks app. So do you want to attempt that?
Oh, I can kind of attempt that. And it depends on who you are. And I was kind of reluctant. Like sometimes we do demos about building Ā'pêks app, and we say, "Hey, look, I've got the spreadsheet. Let me drag it in," and bang, it's created the app. And I kind of feel that does a bit of a disservice to what Ā'pêks is, because I consider Ā'pêks to be a very capable platform to develop applications, and it allows, there's no limits on what you can do. But if you're creating a very first app, you almost need no database skills. You can get by with with almost nothing. These days with AI, you can use the AI capabilities in Ā'pêks to help you write your very first SQL statements. But then when you start getting more advanced, you can use very advanced database techniques to do very advanced things. And you can also do a lot in the UI. So if you're if you're what we would call a full stack developer, someone who can do database, and the middleware, and then the front end, the UI, Ā'pêks lets you do all that. So there's no limitations on what you can do.
It's interesting you went that direction as well, because that's where I always go, is that Ā'pêks is just HTML, CSS, JavaScript on top of PL SQL. So, we regularly have people asking us about, well, what's the difference between this and React, for instance? Well, I challenge most people to build a React app in 8 minutes, I think you took, and that was with you babbling on.
Yeah.
But I mean that in a nice way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I think being able to build now it may not look the best, but I think, adding CSS, adding schemes, style sheets that you've already got within your organization, obviously you can add those pretty quickly. And that doesn't need, the sort of steep level skills. People are using Figma and bringing those sorts of style sheets into Ā'pêks now. So I think, from a skills perspective, you're 100% right. We call it low code. To some degree, it's no code. I think, given some of the questions we've had, and I've had some, and anyone watching this that's asked me these questions, some people have asked for some really funky technical stuff. You can do that because it's just JavaScript, HTML, CSS, but you can't do that with low code. I think you have to balance what you're trying to achieve without code and with code. And so, I think it's horses for courses. But again, my view is, and Franco and I have sort of discussed and laughed about this one for years. If you can use Excel, technically you should be able to use Ā'pêks, and I think it's that simple. But that's because I've used it for a long time.
I was going to say that's a great time for us to wrap up the recording and open up for questions.